Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, we're live here. And yeah, let's look at this a little bit more here. Usually I put my digital avatar on here, but I'm gonna give y'all, live and direct, because this is basically my actual features and my movement. And so you can definitely tell me from the avatar, but I like to use the avatar too. But this is something that I wanted to sit down and really talk about, because this deserves a special type of attention, real attention. So getting off into the Ausarian religion. The Osirian religion as a model for comprehensive mental health and transfiguration. And we're going to get off into transfiguration, disfigurement, so these keywords, just, be aware of some of these keywords as I move on. And if there's any questions at the end of this presentation, please ask questions. I welcome all questions. So we're talking about the transfiguration of the psyche. That's important, In the Ausarian Society, there's a time of the year where this work is comprehensively done, where it's you're really focusing in on the psyche. The psyche is something that we can get off into later on too. Or if you have any other questions about the psyche, definitely check with Kemetic Legacy site, and read the Medu-Neter. Read all 7 volumes of the Medu-Neter. That's gonna blow your mind, pretty much. So yeah, we're talking about a nationalist, indigenous, African-centered approach to reifying Black lives and mental health in a post-apocalyptic, psychopathological terrain. And we're talking about Isfet in the Ma'afa, for those Pan-Africanists out there who are aware of the Ma'afa and Isfet in the Egyptian cosmology or the Kemetic cosmology. That's disorder. And, we're taking it from intellectualizing it as mythology, and we're grounding it in reality. This is something that's actually going on right now, people. So I am KhemkefaAb MenNefer Shepsutera. I'm an LCSW. I'm an LAC, licensed addictions clinician, and I'm a certified integrative Gestalt Therapist. So I took some time building all of this up so I can come to you. I mean, I didn't need all the letters after my name to really explain this stuff to you, but having the letters after my name shows that I went through the mental concentration camp here, and I survived the mental concentration camp. So let's get off into the introduction, because that's important. The introduction. Okay, so let's see, where are we here? We're gonna blow it up for you guys so y'all can see where we at. The following presentation is not offered as a universal theory. I'm not claiming to be universal. That's something the white man, that's his hocus pocus. The European came up with universalisms and saying what he was doing was modern. All of this stuff Marimba Ani explained in Yurugu. She did a thorough job of it, explaining Yurugu. And so you can get a lot of depth on the propensities of the European and the European posture through reading that book. But yes, I'm not claiming to be universal. This is an intentional polemic. This is intentional. I'm being very intentional. We are at war, psychologically, psychospiritually, psychosocially. That's why I'm saying this is an intentional polemic. I'm not claiming to be universal. And this is not an attempt to reduce complexity of mental health to a single explanatory model. That's not what I'm doing either. I'm not trying to say, oh, this is for everybody. No, it's not for everybody. But I got to have my own goddamn lifeboat, and I got to save myself out here. And plus, I got to know what type of terrain I'm in first off to be able to do that. So I just want to let y'all know. And see, this is why I needed to explain this, because all of this on here, I didn't get this off of AI. AI helped to structure my thinking, but I put all of this together based on my understanding over the years and made all the plugs and made all the connections. So everything that's said on here, you'll know I didn't make it with AI, because I'm going to expound on it. And so This is an African-centered framework for understanding the conditions impacting Black mental health. Black. We're going to get off into Black too and what Black is. Look at the goddamn picture behind me, and look at the symbols behind me and the hexagons behind me. So yes, we're not playing around here when we're talking about Black. And we're not. This is not superficial discussion. I'm not going to Black Lives Matter, and I'm not going to. No, we're going to go way deeper with this. And this is not my ideas. I didn't make this up. This is who the people of ancient Kemet. This is what they identified with. Whether you want to accept that as a skin, on the periphery, if you want to accept it like that, or whether they had a comprehensive understanding of what made them Black and what made them dark, is something that transcends biology. But you wouldn't give them credit for even thinking that, but you'll call them aliens and shit like that. Say that they were aliens from another planet and came and built pyramids here. Please. But anyway, as I was saying, I digress. This is an African-centered framework, Black mental health, in the post-apocalyptic psychopathological terrain. I know that's kind of wordy, but I just want to let you know, apocalypse means it's something that has been revealed. That's an apocalypse. And so this is what I'm talking about right now. This is not something, all the stuff that you see in our communities and all the stuff you see going on in the street and all the ramifications of the crack era and all that type of stuff. This is real stuff. The disfigurement is real. So that's why I call it a psychopathological terrain. A model is deliberate. I'm speaking about a model. Following the intellectual traditions articulated by thinkers such as, remember I talked about that. It doesn't claim universality. I just want to remind you of that. And it seeks coherence. I'm using this as a tool. This is not even a linear based discussion. I'm speaking in forms of ecology. It's an ecological validity and relevance to the lived experiences of Black people navigating conditions shaped by fragmentation. And we'll get off into fragmentation. I know y'all see it in society. Fragmentation, chronic stress, the stuff that they tell us, the catchphrases and buzzwords that they use, we have to reconsider those catchphrases and buzzwords in the correct context. Historical displacement and psychosocial dismemberment, you see it all. And so I'm just introducing myself right there. I don't have to repeat that. I'm a psychotherapist. I have my own practice. I'm an addictions clinician. I'm a Gestalt practitioner, which kind of gives me the wiggle room to even go off into this subject the way that I'm going off into this subject. But I'm not going to get off into that. Deeply informs the manner in which this is what I'm conceptualizing: adaptation, unfinished business. It's talked about in Gestalt, and the human search for wholeness. That's what Gestalt is a part of the whole, but it's dynamic. Equally influential is my training as a priest in training within the Osirian tradition. I am a priest in training. If you need to get real information or you want to get into the nitty gritty of what things mean, seek out a priest, and ask them. If some of the stuff that I'm saying doesn't jive with that, then I'll accept that, and deal with it from there. But I'm primarily speaking from as a clinician, as a therapist in Western culture. Seeing what I see in the Black communities. That's the position I am taking. But being a priest in training influences and informs my thinking about this whole process. So, the partner the assertions presented here are not derived solely from material to psychology. You got to understand, it's not material, abnormal psychology. What is that? Look at abnormal psychology. That's what they teach you in school. Abnormal psychology. But anyway, nor solely from a spiritual philosophy. It's not just spiritual, but from an intentional synthesis. I'm being intentional about this. The synthesis of clinical observation, indigenous cosmology, phenomenological inquiry, and lived cultural experience. That's what this model is coming from. So I need to make sure I tell everybody that first before they try to get in here and start debating, and that don't mean this and this don't mean that. Listen, I'm saying this as a clinician and from what I've seen out there in the field. This presentation proposes that many conditions commonly labeled psychopathological within Black communities. Now listen to this. This presentation proposes that many conditions commonly labeled psychopathological within Black communities may be more accurately understood as intelligent adaptations to prolonged exposure to environmental instability. Psychoneuroimmunology. Check that out too. Psychoneuroimmunology. So these are intelligent adaptations to prolonged exposure to environmental instability, social dismemberment, cultural misrecognition, economic precarity, racialized stress, and intergenerational trauma. So these are all parts. We're talking about Gestalt again. I'm an integrative Gestalt therapist. So there's nothing out of order here, what I'm doing and what I'm presenting. And I want you to understand that in this context, diagnostic language alone becomes insufficient. I'm not going to be coming out of the DSM-5. Why am I not going to be coming out of the DSM-5? Because labels may identify patterns of distress, but they do not fully explain the meaning, the origin, or ecological function of those patterns within the environments that produced them. So this work attempts to move beyond mere categorization and toward contextual understanding. And that's where I'll leave it right there.